All right. Hey, everyone. Hello from an Airbnb in Illinois. Today, we'll be putting to the test both the Ballmer Peak theory of programming and also my Wi Fi connection at the Airbnb. So, what is the Ballmer Peak? There's a link in the description, and I'll also show you an XKCD comic. It is the theory that a little bit of drinking will relax you and improve your performance. But obviously, too much drinking will ruin your performance. So, this is the Ballmer Peak. I will not be measuring my own blood alcohol concentration, but I will be sampling some local beers. All right. And so, top secret, there's going to be 4 beers. And before I start coding, I'm going to drink the first beer in order to maximize the chance that this theory will obtain within the hour, because we're going to be here for an hour. And so, I'll do the grand reveal of the first beer. There are 2 local Midwestern breweries. These are local beers. And the first is Great Lakes. Can you see the... Yeah, I think you should be able to see the label there. This is a porter. It may be backwards to you. And I believe you can find this one at some Whole Foods locations. The other beers, I'm not sure if that will be the case. But this is the porter. And that's about all I have for you. If they have multiple porters, I won't know which one. It's just, maybe the ABV would be interesting. 6.0. 6.0 alcohol by volume on this one. Right. And this is a highly scientific experiment. So we will be following some structure. I'll show you this spreadsheet. This is not the Wild West. This is, in fact, a scientific experiment. So Leetcode will be following a particular pattern. This cycle pattern: trees, graphs, backtracking, binary search, sorting, heaps, and tries. This is recommended by my coach. So I have a technical coach that I'm working with, actually a couple of them. And so based on my personal, where places I need to improve, this sort of like micro curriculum was assembled. And then here are the quick links to those tags. I will be mostly sticking with easies today. I might do a couple mediums, nothing really hard, but we will go, let's see. Most recently I did binary search. So we will be starting with opening up this sorting. All right, so let me rate this, I guess. Oh, and we're on YouTube, we're on LinkedIn. We have a guest. Let's see. Is this going to be Matt?
Yeah.
What is that?
Hey, Matt, how's it going?
I mean, you can have half if you want.
All right, where's your fake ID?
Right here.
Oversight.
Can you see the hairline?
Is that why we're wearing the cap?
Well,
I started noticing that.
Seems like he's at the grocery checkout. Let me see if... Let me know if you'd like to hop on. I don't know if he'll be able to see that chat over there. Okay. Yeah, let me do a rating on this. It's pretty good. I like a dark beer. This one is not super syrupy. It's pretty toasty. 6, 7, 8, something in that range. I guess we'll go with a 7. Hey, Matt, how's it going?
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, sick. All right. Awesome.
You at the grocery?
Bad. Yeah, I was at Target. Just bought a tall boy Bud Light.
Bud Light, nice. Classic.
Oh, yeah. Really big beer connoisseur here. So, am I allowed to curse on this? This is going up on YouTube. I don't know what the rules are.
So any thoughts before we dive into a problem? Or do you want to talk about data science world at all? Let me know.
I'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. I'm just on a walk. Got the Uruguay game coming up in an hour. So here to hang. Yeah. Whatever you want to do. You want to just grind Leetcode for an hour and go crazy? It's all good with me.
I'll do that, but maybe we'll punt 5 minutes to ask about... So Matt is a data scientist, So maybe we'll talk about 5 minutes about interviewing as a data scientist, and then we can switch back into Leetcode
All right,
grinding.
let's do it.
So what do the rounds look like? Do they ask you Leetcode? I mean, I hope not. But
So
what do the rounds look like?
yeah, I mean, I'll let you know once I start getting calls back. But no,
Ah,
it's basically super drawn out. It kind of looks like, obviously you have the screen up front, either with a recruiter or somebody, indirectly involved with the hiring. Um, and that usually, goes well for somebody like me who's more talkative and charismatic and wants to be, given an open floor to just fill in with buzzwords and keywords and all that stuff.
nice.
So that one's good. That's a fun one if you like talking to people. I think, my girlfriend is also in the field. She's less on the, put me in front of a microphone uh, bandwagon, but for people who don't want to talk as much, it's kind of a daunting task to go and sell yourself for 5+ minutes and just
Yeah.
field very arbitrary, or at least seemingly arbitrary questions. So it can be tough, but then after that, you speak to somebody in the, hopefully on the team. Some cases, the hiring manager, depending on how technical that person is. And this is where they really start looking, kind of indirectly, this is my experience, for culture fit. So they're looking for people who, the technical stuff is always going to be kind of up in the air, right? The resume says one thing, you're going to find out on day 1 or day 7 or day 30, whatever it is. You're going to find out that kind of stuff. But they're looking for a specific mold, which is why I always ask every interviewer, what type of person are you looking for? Or every recruiter, as early as I can, what type of person are you looking for? Because that's going to gauge the way I act and really tell me if I'm a good fit for a role.
Now, is this due to the fact that data science means like so many different things to different companies? Is that the reason you're asking that, or is it something else?
It is. So
Okay.
I paint a very binary picture of the coder in the corner
Yeah.
and the manager. And in
Yeah.
reality, it's not one of those two things, right? But I pose it that way for a reason, just to see where people land on that spectrum. But there's so many different things that a data scientist does, and this goes for a lot of the ridiculousness that we have. We have 50 different titles in the same field doing the same thing, but you're wearing so many hats. It's good to know right up front which hats they really want you to wear.
Yeah.
At least to me, it's everybody's different. So
Matt,
yeah,
do I remember that you do a bit of comedy? Is that right?
yeah, yeah. So I started doing stand up. It's 2022.
Okay.
I had always wanted to do it. My cousin moved out to LA to do it when he was younger. He ended up dying of a heroin overdose, so he didn't really
Wow.
make it too far, but he tried, so he'd be proud. But so started that a couple of years ago, and yeah, just done like a few shows at comedy clubs on Long Island, Governors. Yeah, like 100+ people, so good amount of people in the stands there. But no, don't
If
have my
you have
name on
anything
any.
on
What'd you say?
YouTube, I don't know if you have anything on YouTube, but if you do, feel free to
Nothing.
send it to me, and I'll put it in the YouTube description.
Nothing, and I there's nothing online, and if there was, I would be disbarred from whatever data science organization there is out there. It's not a lot of family friendly content, so I try to keep it somewhat light on LinkedIn. I know I can
Yeah.
be kind of a dick, but just trying to call out bullshit and all that.
I've seen
So
humor on the uptick on LinkedIn.
it's crawling. It's crawling there.
Yeah.
You just have to realize the ridiculousness of the situation that we're in on LinkedIn, where it's like half self-masturbatory. Oh my God, I got this job. Like, look how hard I worked. Here's 30 things I learned.
Yeah.
And then there's some genuine stuff where, I want to be there for the genuine stuff and I want to support other people. That's like the entire reason that I am in the field, is to do work that helps people. So like I want to be there for that, but then you just get so bogged down by, celebrate this, support that, congrats on your 6 years at this company where you've done nothing. Like,
Right.
it's tough to navigate, but it's also just a social media app.
So I love your perspective here as a data scientist that also has some humor and some comedy background, which in my experience is rare. And I've worked with a bunch of people in the AI ML space. Looks like we have maybe a dozen people across channels. Feel free to drop a question for Matt if you have one. I don't know how much time you have, Matt. Maybe 5 or 10 more minutes.
Oh, I got all that.
Awesome.
So, whatever
Two
you
more
want to
questions
do.
for you.
Yeah.
2 more questions for you, and then I'll dive into to some code. One question would be, which beer should I drink next? Okay, so I have a sour. Let's see.
Easy. It's the sour. You don't even have to go on.
Okay. All right. We'll do this.
Beer is so fun. I mean, I'm allowed to curse, right? It's cool.
Yeah, I don't mind. I mean,
that feels like you might mind a little bit. Beer.
No, I really don't care. I'll let you know if like the viewers start dropping off. Maybe they care, but
yeah. Let's get some analytics going. Get a data analyst in here.
Also, I feel like if you censor the cursing, the comedy goes out the window. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
Exactly. I did a show in front of my parents and my parents' friends one time.
Yeah.
Fucking awful. It's impossible. Half the material is out the window. More.
So this is called Into the Wild Sour. This is by Goodman House, and this is. Oh, let me check it. Is that local to Indiana or Ohio? Goodman House.
Oh yeah, are you in Indiana?
This is Indianapolis, Goodman House. I am currently in Illinois, but I'm from Virginia, just on a road trip. And yeah, so local beer. This is 7% alcohol by Oh, it might be 7.8. I can't tell if that font is a 0 or an 8.
It's all the same.
And so my question to you, going off of the local thing, is how much of this getting a job problem is local or geographically related? Are you on the West Coast or the East Coast? And do you have any like data science-y info?
Yeah. So I tell people you can get hired, right? You can always get hired, but it all depends on how, I don't want to say low. My therapist wouldn't want me to say one is better than the other, but how much of a, let's say, difference would you be fine accepting? So, yeah, it's tough for me to get let's say, an ML engineer job in New York City. But would I be okay working as a data analyst at a mom and pop outside Gary, Indiana?
Exactly.
Because if that's the case, then, go old school, start showing up to businesses with a resume, with a suit on, or at least a shirt and tie, whatever, and just start marketing yourself, right? You'll get a job eventually like that. But to say I'm only going to be a machine learning manager in, uptown Manhattan, it's just not going to work in this market unless you really get lucky. And people seem to discount luck on LinkedIn. I'm going to switch and walk backwards.
Luck is huge. One of the things that I do to build luck is play the numbers game. Because if you apply 10 places, I would not be surprised if you get 0 callbacks. Honestly, and I think you know this, you could apply 100 places, and I wouldn't be super surprised if you get 0 callbacks. But once you start going like 100, 200, 300, you start to be able to predict at that point, you're at least going to get a few callbacks.
Yeah, you would think at least one, and definitely don't. It also matters how you're applying. LinkedIn Easy Apply. I did a little experiment, applied to 150 jobs that I'm qualified for, 0 callbacks. So you got to be careful not to spend all your energy on things that, have such a little chance of having any return.
+1. You can +1 on that. So I've done a little experimenting as well. And yeah, if I just throw an application online, I think I've gotten 1 interview that way out of 100 to 150 applications. The referrals work really well. So out of 100 applications that I did with social follow-up, I don't have the exact number, but I was able to get like 20 referrals if I socially network properly.
Yeah,
And I
that's
was
a
able to
great
get
rate.
like 10 interviews off of those 20 referrals.
You're talking 10 out of 100 total there. I mean, that's great. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah. So some
But
people
that's
think 10 out of 100 looks like really small. Wake up call, like that's the market. 10 out of 100 these days is actually really good.
incredible. You're getting a 10% rate, interview rate. That's insane. But again, it comes down to what kind of person it is, because people don't like reaching out. People don't like
Yeah.
rejection. And, you know, like I think I left you on red for like 3 days. Some people don't like that. And it's really tough to handle that when you're doing a full-time job search.
Yeah.
Mentally, it's a lot. So, I'd love to see somebody build a platform. I think there is something out there now with like crowd referrals or something, but just for people that maybe aren't the best at reaching out and being social, to get a referral, because it really does make a lot of difference. Not always, but it can help.
The other experiment that I've run that I'll mention is try to get the email address of a hiring manager and directly email
Oh
them.
yeah, I've
So
seen that.
I've actually been able to track down some hiring managers and their email
Love it.
addresses. I tried this about 20 times and I got an interview rate of 0.
Okay, how
Um,
how because like Joseph Jewell, I don't know if you see a lot of his. You know.
Joe's
So
great. Yeah, Joe is hilarious. Okay, let me bring up his LinkedIn so people know who we're talking about.
yes, yeah.
Joseph Jewell is the recruiter that codes. And he is also on, I guess we know each other through LinkedIn, but he's also on TikTok.
Is he on TikTok? See, I'm so out of the loop with TikTok. He and I had the second greatest phone call of my life, where we pranked somebody else in a recruiter fashion, and it was all impromptu. It was the greatest 45 minutes ever. But he,
So I'll share my screen.
yeah, hopefully people can see.
He
Oh
has
well, he's doing
a lot
100
of funny takes as well. So again, someone who's technically competent but also like really hilarious. Give him a follow on LinkedIn. Sorry to cut you off. What were you saying?
No. So he has all these, fake ideas of kind of building on what you were saying. Find the hiring manager, find them via email. He has these that are, these are clearly fake takes. Just want to make that clear. But he will say, go to their house, show up, and
Oh
kidnap
yeah,
the kids, whatever. But I
yeah,
think there is slightly something to that. So if somebody is that public, where they are on other social media, or they're somewhere out in the world, or they have a blog, if you can find those people and reach out to them, if you, it's it sounds very manipulative, but if you come across as somebody who is interested, I want to say if you are genuinely interested, but the job market is kind of tough right now, so at least just feign that you're interested. But if you can come across as you're interested and you're genuine, nobody's going to be upset about getting an email reaching out about stuff that they've done. Right? Everybody
that's
loves to talk about themselves. At least I do.
yeah.
So, if you find somebody has a blog and there's a, contact me button, they're not going to be upset if you're like, oh, hey, why did you use XGBoost for this predictive modeling project? So,
Yeah.
go crazy. The worst thing they're going to say is nothing, right? Which is already
Yeah.
the case. So, go wild. Send them emails, send them snail mail if you find their address. It really is all fair game in my book.
I agree with that. So with the experiment that I did where I emailed these 20 hiring managers, yes, I got 0 interviews, but there was also no one who was super angry, right? So this
Yeah.
idea of like don't step on toes, I think that's an overblown fear. I think if you have an interesting idea and there's a 1, 2, 3% chance that you annoy someone, you're going to have to get over that,
Yep.
because think about the competitive nature of the market today. There's someone else out here who's going to do it.
Yep.
There's someone else
if
out here.
we're 100 years in the future from, you're there to feed your family. So
Yeah.
you got to do what you got to do. Like,
So
I
here's a
know.
quick post from
Yeah.
Joe, and I'll give
Very much
just
do
give
this.
the audience an example of when he's being funny, basically. So he says, pro tip. This is from about 4 days ago. He made this post on LinkedIn. You have to be strategic when responding to rejection letters. You don't want to burn any bridges, as the company is going to be hiring again at some point. right? So he starts off with like real advice, and then he just like takes it in a crazy direction.
Oh, yeah.
He says you need to stand out so they immediately think of you when a new job comes open. In your response, be sure to mention how great their kids are. Attach a few pictures of them at school, playing at the park, eating dinner at home, etc. People love it when you compliment their children.
But why? At some point, it's going to get crazy. This world is going to end. Do it. Go. I guess I shouldn't say that legally, but just,
Yeah, no, it's a terrible idea, but it's hilarious.
push the
All right,
boundaries.
so I've landed on a number for the 1 to 10 for this sour. So this is the End of the Wild sour, guava, pomegranate, pineapple. I think it's better than the porter that I had a moment ago. And so I gave the porter.
How would it not be better than the porter? How was that even a competition?
So some of that is your personal preference, but I am a dark guy.
I like dark beer too, but
so for me to say that the sour is better than the dark beer is quite the compliment. Oh, Tina, what do you think? Give it a 1 to 10. Okay, and I'm right there with her. So Tina also gives this an 8, and I'm giving this an 8. So check out the not sponsored. Feel free to sponsor me, guys. This is the Gugman House, Haus, Into the Wild Sour. All right. Anything else, Matt, or should we hop over to some code?
Code it up. That's what the people want to see, right? Just slaving away at the code.
All right. So I'll be going into our famous Leetcode.com. Man, it is what it is, right? What can I say? I'm going to go for easies. Yes. And I'm just sorting by easy. And up comes this one that I haven't done. Minimum number of moves to seat everyone.
Aren't you a senior software engineer? You should be doing extra hard. Do they have extra hard?
Oh no. It's you got to warm up. You got to warm up. All right, so we have number 2037, and feel free to hang out if you want to, Matt, and if you want to drop, that's fine as well. But I'll read this problem out loud. Some people are watching, or some people like to listen to the stream. You know what I mean? So they're not actually looking at the screen. Okay, so 2037, minimum number of moves to seat everyone. There are in available seats and in students standing in a room. So you're given an array of seats where I is the position of the ith seat. You're also given an array of students. And here's what you want to do. You may perform the following move any number of times. Increase or decrease the position of the ith student by 1. Okay, so when we do a move, we can basically move a student in position. All right, so this is a sorting problem. Yeah, it makes sense. So return the minimum number of moves required to move each student to a seat such that no 2 students are in the same seat. Oh. Okay. Wait, so are there like people in the same seat to start with? Hold on, let me read this again.
Yeah, it's a strange setup.
The Ballmer Peak is failing me right now. Okay, so we'll look at example 315274. The output is 4. Okay, so they're not initialized in the same seat, but I guess the idea is when you move them, you might move them to the same seat and you can't stop there. I guess that's the idea. Okay.
Sounds like musical chairs to me.
Yeah, it's basically musical chairs. In available seats and in students standing in a room. There are 2 seats at position 2. Okay, so there can be multiple seats at the same position. Maybe it's like a table. I guess it's like it represents a table, and you can have a few people at a table. All right, so what's my overall approach here? I'll start with a brute force. A brute force is, let's see. I could create a hash map and count out the available seats per number, and then I could just allocate students through the hash map. And so that seems like it would have a worst case complexity of n squared. It seems that way because I would need to build up the hash map, and then I would need to go through it to allocate. I guess that's just O2n, not n squared, is it? Okay, fine. So what's wrong with that? That feels like a fine answer, except that this is in the sorting category, so I feel like I'm supposed to be sorting.
Yeah, I think they want you moving one way or the other.
So if I sort the students, that's going to be n log n. What's the point of maybe I sort the students and the seats? Okay, so then that would be O2 n log n, which is asymptotically n log n. So if I sort the students and the seats, can I just map one over to the other? Let me see. That doesn't really work, right? You can't just sort them both and map one over to the other. Or maybe you can. I have no idea. Maybe that's exactly what you're supposed to do.
Try it, see what happens.
Let's try and see what happens. I dig it. Maybe that's the key to the Ballmer Peak. So maybe the Ballmer Peak doesn't work in an interview, because during an interview, you don't want to say, I have no idea, let's try it.
Oh, no, I love doing that.
So it seems bad for an interview, but maybe that's perfect for like an open source developer to strike genius.
Exactly.
So I'm going to say seats equals seats.sort. And I'm going to say students is students.sort. You got to love Python. You can just hit the dot sort,
I was
right?
going to say, you're just using Python. That's great.
Okay, so I have my seats are sorted and my students are sorted. Who is longer? Are they the same length? Let's double check the constraints here. Yeah, it did say they're both in. I'm just triple checking that it's a literal n, not like an asymptotic n.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's the same literal n. Okay, so it's the exact same number, dude. Okay, this feels like a great idea. So I just sort them, and why are they not perfectly parallel at that point? So 415, I'm looking at example 2 here. Seats 4159. Now let's say that I sorted it. So it's 1459. Okay? And then the students is 1326. If I sort it, it's 1236. So the 1 matches. And then what happens between the 4 and the 3? The 3 needs to move 1. The 3 needs to move by 1. Okay? Oh no, 1, 4, and it's going to be 1, 2. So the 2 needs to move by 2. Yeah, I feel like you can basically accumulate the deltas if you do this. I could be totally wrong, but let's try it. Okay.
I think if you sort both of them, it's fine. I don't know if that's how they want you to do it, quote unquote, but
right. Well, we're gonna get it wrong, and then we're gonna look at the solution, and then we're gonna memorize it, because that's the real way you solve a Leetcode question.
That's the Leetcode right there.
So we're eventually gonna return what? What's the name of this result? We could just call it result. Minimum number of moves. I'll call it min underscore num underscore moves, because when it comes to naming your variables, you want to just take the first 3 letters of any English word, and that's the optimal variable name. So min, num, move. I guess MOV for move there, just to be clear. And that's why I'm not the comedian. That's my attempt at a joke.
I get very anal about variable names, so I'm just glad you have a system and you're following it. That's honestly better than half the people.
I really don't have a system. If we want to be real for a second, how do I name my variables? My only rule is call it what it is. That's my only rule.
Yeah, but that's a rule.
Yeah, that's true.
Some people don't even do that. It's just A, B. It's just blows my
No,
mind.
I hate that. If I see a variable called A, like I'm rage quitting.
Oh my god, it's the worst. Good luck debugging.
Okay, so for I in range lin seats, we want to delta. So the delta is we're going to have seat IDX and then student IDX. So this will be I of students, and the seat IDX is I of seats. And then the delta is, do we just take the absolute value? How do I know who's bigger? Let me see. I think it's going to be the absolute value. It doesn't matter who's bigger. So that's the seat val, not the seat IDX, and that's the student. It's just student. Seat minus student, we take the absolute value, that's the delta. And now what am I doing? Minimum number of moves plus equals delta. There's no way this is right. Okay.
At least
Object.
you got a runtime error.
Yeah. So the object of type none type has no length. Seats is none. Why is seats none? Seats is a list of integers.
What is seats?
Seats is a list of integers. So object of type none type has no length. Did they just type the signature wrong? Like maybe it can be none. All right, let's print it. Well, I mean, why print it? It's just going to be none. We can do a guard here if not seats, but there totally should be seats.
Yeah.
Oh, no, this is my fault. Seats should not equal seats.sort. That's a JavaScript.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's the JavaScript way. We should just say seats.sort. That's it. Just a syntax problem. Okay, min none moves is not defined because I renamed it because I was trying to be funny. We have a condition. Oh, did that pass? Bro. I think the Ballmer Peak might be real, dude.
That's just not. I mean, come on, this is an easy problem. That's not fair.
Yeah. Okay. How long?
Did that solve it that quick?
That took me 10 minutes, I think.
Also, that feels like a cheating way.
I don't know that 10 minutes is good for an easy. I guess it's about on track. I don't know that we have a learning yet. We need a larger sample size. So what's my next beer? I have another Gugman house. I won't tell you what kind it is, or I have another Great Lakes Brewing Company out of Ohio.
The latter.
Out of Ohio? Okay.
Yeah, go Ohio.
This is going to be strawberry pineapple wheat. All right, we're 5.5% alcohol by volume. Chat, let's get a thumbs up for local brewers. You know they're working hard out there. Dive headfirst into a luscious blend of strawberry and pineapple. Sounds good to me.
Oh, come on. Who wouldn't want that?
Who wouldn't want that? We're at 7:30. When am I supposed to be leaving? Okay, I have 30 minutes, right? Not negative 30 minutes? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. It's not as good as the sour, to be honest with you. And that's not to say that it's bad. It's not to say that it's bad. It's just not as good as the sour.
That's what I love to hear.
If I'm thinking about the porter, chat, this is going to depend on whether or not you are into dark beers, basically, I think. So I'll say for me personally, I'm going to put the strawberry pineapple at a 6, which is lower than the porter. But if you are not into porters, then you might prefer this. It tastes kind of like a really good strawberry soda mixed with beer. That's what it tastes like to me. It tastes like strawberry soda mixed with beer.
That sounds incredible.
I don't know if I can really recommend it very much.
That bad, huh? I mean, if you're a dark beer guy, you're not going to like that.
Ooh, this one's going to be a struggle to finish. You know what? By the time I hit sip number 5, I gotta drop the 1 to 10 down to a 4. Sorry.
Just send it my way. I'll finish it.
All right. Okay, next problem. So we did a sorting problem. Let's do a heap problem. One of the issues with heaps is that I never use them. So heaps are a great example, at least in web development world, they're a great example of something that you rarely use in practice. Java developers will actually use them. But I love that Leetcode puts in parentheses priority queue, because it is true that we use prioritized queues all the time. So for me, the mental model of even calling it a heap is a confusing mental model. I'm probably not going to bother to even construct a heap class. I'm just going to use like a set or a queue or a stack and then prioritize it, basically, as opposed to making a heap class. All right, so how am I finding the problem? I'm sorting by difficulty. Let's pick an easy. Let's scan for a highly frequent easy. Shout out to Leetcode for at least giving the problem frequency, which is nice. Here I have the
frequency with which it shows up in interviews, or frequency with which people complete it?
Yeah, it's based on
or attempt.
So Leetcode has both of those. The complete thing is called the acceptance rate.
More like attempts, like frequency of attempts. Or is that just interview frequency?
Good question. The frequency on Leetcode is user reported frequency of appearing in interview.
Okay.
So,
That's great.
right, that's different than the true rate of appearance, but it's the user reported rate of appearance.
It should be pretty analogous, I would think. I would hope.
Right.
People are lying.
We hope. And so here I am picking high five, which has the lock icon. That means you have to get Leetcode Premium to do this one. Fortunately, I have Leetcode Premium. If I didn't, I would probably go with this relative ranks problem, which is still pretty frequent. Okay. And it reads this way. 1086, the high five problem, says, given a list of the scores of different students, I'm still reeling from the fact that my solution to the last one worked. That was crazy. Okay, let's focus. All right. Calculate each student's top 5 average. Each student's top 5 average. Given a list of the scores of different students, the I position of items is ID, score. The ID, so hold on, let me read this again. The I position of items is ID, score. Okay, so I guess this is a list of lists. Yeah,
Lists.
Yeah, and we can confirm that in the type signature of the solution class. So it's a list of lists, and we're going to get all of these IDs. And so a student is a particular ID, I guess. And so they should be guaranteed to at least have 5 entries. Is that what I'm understanding? I'll look at one of these examples. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so ID 1 is entered 5 times into this list of lists. The other option is if they only have like 2 entries, let's say I'm a teacher, then I'm considering that to be this student didn't show up for the test, or the student basically gets a 0 on the test. So I could make that assumption reasonably. So in this case of 1, or in this case of 7, 7, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, cool. 1, 2, 1, 3, 4, 5. It's looking like they all show up 5 times. Oh, under the constraints for ID, there will at least be 5 scores. Dope. Okay, so they're going to show up 5 times and we just get their average. Why is this difficult? Okay, it's not. It's an easy. Nice. It feels easy. So I just go get their average. Given a list of the scores. Oh, okay. So the thing I'm supposed to learn here is that I can sort on the ID, I guess. I can sort on the ID. And why is that better than creating a hash map and then iterating through the hash map and averaging on that?
That's a good question.
So if I construct a hash map where the key is the ID and the value is the their scores, that would be an O of n loop time complexity to build the hash map. Then it would take O of n memory. Let me write this down. So hash map pattern, O n time complexity to build maps, O n space to retain maps. I heard some sort of noise. I don't know if someone was messaging me something. But I'm not seeing a message from the chat. So I'm going to go with, I don't know what message that was. Maybe that was an email. I don't know. Okay. Oh, it could have been Slack is what it might have been. Sorry about that. So we have time complexity to build the maps. We have space complexity to retain the maps. After I built it, then I just need to 1 pass to divide by 5 and get the average. O(n) pass to get averages. And then we want to return a list of lists. Oh, do they need to be returned in ID order? Return the answer as an array of pairs where, okay, sort result by ID in increasing order. Sort, okay. So we're forced to sort. We're forced to sort. Let's see. I could do a count sort where I just go 1, 2, 3, 4. Like it'd still be O of n. It would not be an n log n sort. I would just start at 0 and go up until I run out of numbers.
Yeah.
So I could do O(n) count sort. To me, that feels like the right answer. So we haven't looked up But like if I do a bubble sort and it ends up being n log n, that would be slower. Would I get a memory benefit? I would, because I wouldn't need a hash map. N log n, bubble sort is slower with lower memory requirement. Because if I sorted by the ID, I would just average their 5, right? And as soon as I see a new ID, I'm done. And that would always be 5 instances. So it would be constant. Is slower with lower memory requirement. 1 mem. Cool. So we can see, like, depending on what your interviewer is asking, there could be 2 different optimal solutions. In general, I prefer to have a better time complexity, and I'm happy to pay the memory cost because storage is generally cheap. But if I'm in an interview context and I explain the strategy to the interviewer, they absolutely have the freedom to say, hey, let's assume that I want to go for O of 1 memory. And so I would pivot over to the bubble sort approach. Python, it has a built-in sorting pattern called timsort. So, okay, fine, that's timsort. But it's still in log n, basically. So if they wanted to pivot to optimize memory, I would use the built-in Python sort. But if I'm optimizing time complexity, I'm going to use count sort, which that's not using dot sort in Python. It's literally just counting like 1, 2, 3. That's what we mean when we say count sort. So let's see if I can implement it now. So I want to have a hash map, right? What am I going to call this thing? I'm going to call this scores per student. Are these students? They got to be students, right? Who else is taking exams? Scores per student. And then I'll make myself a note. Key is student ID. And so here I'll say for item in items. And I want to break this apart. I want to say student ID is the 0 index, is it? Yeah. It's the 0 index of item. It feels like this is taking me a long time, but I'm looking at the time on the clock and it's like, feels like it hasn't been that long. That's crazy. Ballmer Peak is wild. So maybe the Ballmer Peak is optimal because it actually creates a rift in space and you get free time to implement your Leetcode solution. Okay, so student ID is the 0 index. What's the value here? That's the current score. Current score for students is the item 1 index. What I want to do is in my scores per student, construct an array if it doesn't exist, or if it does exist, push onto it. So I'll say if student ID in, gotta love Python. That syntax right there. Java developers are just going crazy right now.
So how do you feel about default ticks?
They're great, but I actually always end up forgetting the syntax, believe it or not. So for example, if I want to have a default dictionary that starts at a 0 count, I'll put 0 in there, but you're not supposed to do that, right? You're supposed to put like integer in there.
Explicitly? You want to explicitly set it to 0?
Yeah, because in my mental model, I'm thinking, all right, they should start at 0, and then I'll just increment them. But I think what you're saying,
if you create a default tick where the type of the value is an integer, they'll default to 0, and then you can just add.
Right, and I always get that
whatever value.
I always get that wrong because I put a literal 0 instead of the letters int.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah, and then I have to remember, oh, don't put a literal 0. You have to put int, and then that's like implicitly starts at 0.
Yeah.
It's not a bunch of hops, but it's enough that it like freaks me out, and I just avoid doing it.
Oh, it's great. It makes your life easy.
It really does. It really does. And to the audience, if you're using Python, Matt's absolutely right. Get familiar with the default dictionary, and you will save, I don't know, what, 20, 30 seconds? You'll save 30, yeah, probably 30 seconds.
It just saves your mental game the entire time.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about, oh no, do I have a key in there? Is there a value? What type of value? All that stuff. It's just sometimes easier to just have a default dict in there.
Okay, so here I say if the student ID, And so now I'm basically not doing the default dict. I've already started, so we'll just finish it up this way. But yeah, he's right.
Yeah, this is also more implicit or more intuitive, and you don't have to import default dict from collections or anything like that. So
yeah,
benefits this too.
So what I'm walking through now is not using a default dict, and I would basically get to skip this flow control, this if-else condition. I'd get to skip this if I did Matt's idea of having a default dict. Okay, so we made that caveat, but we've already started. Let's just go ahead. So what I'm saying in this case is if the student ID is in there, let me push on it, basically. Let me push on it. And so I'll say scores per student, and I'll look it up with the bracket syntax. If I use the bracket syntax and it's not there, I'm going to get a key error. You could use the .get operator instead if you wanted to return a none by default instead of erroring. In a commercial context, I'm a big fan of the scream pattern. Like if it's not there, like let it error and then handle the error properly. But what you do in commercial code versus what you do in Leetcode, right? And what you do when you're getting ready for your dinner date in 15 minutes. Okay, so if the ID is there, we're going to get the value, and it's going to be an array by construction. We'll assure that it is an array. And we're going to push this ID onto it. No, that's the wrong thing. We're going to push the current score for student onto it. And then I'll say to do calc averages, to do return using count sort, return in order. So I'll call this results. We'll eventually have some results. So at the top, I'm making a result, which is an empty list. All right, so on line 17, I push the current score if it exists. What if it doesn't exist? If it doesn't exist, I need to create it. So students per score, sorry, scores per student. I'm getting my student ID, and I'm allocating an array which has a single value inside. The single value is that current score. But this is looking good. So this loop is looking good. This first pass of my 2-pass pattern is, I believe, complete. I mean, we could verify it with a test, but let's just go ahead and make the second loop and run the test. Or the second pass. So the second pass is that I need to get my averages. So for item and items, and now I can loop through the scores per student. So I'm going to say for student ID in scores per students. Scores per students. So I'm going to loop through here and get the averages. Do I directly append them to result, or do I need an intermediary data structure? I want to directly append to result. So this is my count sort idea. When I say for student ID and scores per students, it should, in Python, this should look up the dictionary in integer order. Let's see, is that right? I think it will, and we'll find out because I'll be horribly wrong if that's not right.
So scores per student is your dictionary there, right?
Exactly.
There's no, maybe they changed this in 3.10 or 3.11, but there historically was no guaranteed sort order in Python.
Is it? Is that the case? Okay. What if I do?
That always was the case. Maybe in the last,
there is an ordered dictionary, but that orders on the insertion order, right? I don't think it orders on the.
I don't know what the default is. I think they're so underutilized. So.
Okay, so I could explicitly sort on it if I want to. Let me do this and see what. You got me really curious, dude.
There's a cute one-liner you can do in Python too to sort your dictionary based on key also.
So I could do the scores per student dot keys, and then literally sort that. Is that what you're thinking about?
Yeah, you have to use, it's like a lambda function you use with the dictionary, but there's 50 different ways to do it. So.
And why would I not do that? So that's going to take me in log in the dimension of the key length. So what's my key length here? My key length is my number of students, which is a constant multiple of my number of items. So it ultimately is an in log n solution. Okay, what's
one other thing you could do is, as you are iterating the first time through it, you could also be creating a list that sorts on insertion. Maybe you gain a little bit there.
Yeah.
And then you can use that list as your key when you're sorting the dictionary later. And I
Yeah.
think you get a boost.
So my intuition is right there with you, but I actually don't think that sort is reliable. So if I maintain the upper bound and the lower bound and I just insert off of that, the edge case comes if I have 1 and 4 and then I run into 3 later and I need to insert in the middle. You see what I mean?
Yeah, then
So if I
you'd kind of
insert,
be a wash.
yeah, if I insert on the upper and lower boundaries only, I can do that in O of N. But if I have to maintain internal sort, like
Yeah, you're
internal,
still going through it then.
exactly, it ends up being a wash. All right. Well, I think what do you think, man? I think we've fairly well convinced ourselves that we have to do log n one way or the other.
Yeah. The only
Okay.
thing I think you also don't need to calculate the average at the end if you're guaranteed 5 scores. You
Right.
could, divide by 5 for each value that you're pushing.
Right.
Another thing, you could just add, right? You could have a dictionary of integers, like where the value is an integer or a float, whatever. And instead of pushing and having a list, you could just add your value divided by 5. So then
I'm
you would
with
end
you.
up with your average test score.
I'm with you. And that would make our 2-pass solution into a 1-pass solution. So it would be linearly better, but I think we would still need to sort those keys, don't you?
Still need to sort the keys. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just removes the extra pass of calculating the averages.
Right on, dude. Nice. Yeah, you're 100% right. I'm going to go ahead and do the second pass just because I'm already this far.
Yeah. Don't change it up now.
So I think we've convinced ourselves we need to do an log n. Cool. That's fine. So for student in scores per student, this will be my divide by 5 stage, and then I will not use count sort. I will do the ordered keys. So I'll even call this ordered keys. And that's going to be scores per student dot keys dot sort. Okay, so, and then I can print that to make sure. We'll debug it if we need to. I think that should come out. Dot sort is going to be in place, won't it? Scores per student. Yeah, I can break this into 2 lines. I think there is a way to do it in 1 line. What would I need to use a lambda? I don't care. I'll do this in 2 lines.
That's fine.
So I get my ordered keys, and then I sort them. And then return in order using count sort. All right, so here's where I actually make result. I'll delete the one at the top because we're going to use it here. And I'll say for K and ordered keys. Why don't I say for key? Yeah, okay. I wasn't sure if key is a reserved word.
Yeah, we just bashed the single letter variables. So.
Yeah, I do make an exception if there's a reserved word. Like,
yes. Key scares me a little bit, but it's not a reserved word, so it's fine.
So for key and ordered keys, and now it should be a count sort basically. So this will either be a 0 or 1, whatever is the minimum value to begin with. And so here I can literally push on result, or it's append in Python world. Literally append on result. And what am I appending? I'm going to have the key. Okay, so the output. Oh yeah, and then the average is what I'm appending. So I'm going to go for student ID, which is the key. And then the average score. It's called a score, right? Average score.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, I can calculate the average score right here. Why am I doing a pass to just calculate the average? I shouldn't. So this is kind of like what you were saying, except that I've pushed it into the key ordering logic instead of doing it up at the top. You were suggesting like at the very beginning I could push the divide by 5, right?
Yeah, just instead of the list. I mean, and I'm also so conditioned to use numpy arrays that I'm just thinking, np.mean.
That's awesome. Love the data science perspective.
Yeah, it's tough to jump into straight software sometimes.
Okay, so I have my ordered keys result for key and ordered keys. My average score, I'm going to look this up and then divide by 5 right here. Okay, so I'm going to do foo. I'm literally going to put foo and then divide by 5. And then I'll replace foo. So what is foo? Foo is going to be scores per student, and I'll look up the key index. I expect this to work. Average score, result.append. Yeah, I think this should work. Let's see.
That's the strawberry beer talking right there.
Did I do that again? Oh, gosh.
You put push, right? Yeah.
And now I have a pen with 3 P's. Okay. Dict keys has no attribute sort. Okay, I can make it into a list. How do I take dict keys and make it a list?
You can just wrap it in a list, but yeah, like the whole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this?
No, like that. Well, yeah, you could do that. Yeah.
None type is not iterable. Oh, ordered keys can be none, can it? It should never be none. I did the same thing again, man. I did the same thing.
You did it in place. Yeah. So,
okay,
make your ordered keys a list there, wrap the whole thing in a list, then sort it. Yeah.
Syntactically, though, is this the right way to do it?
Oh, no. Like wrap that. Yeah. So wrap that entire line in a list. Get rid of that bracket notation.
After the keys?
After the keys, yeah. There you go.
Unsupported operand list int. Okay. So I did something bad here. Here I got the whole list, and I need to sum them up. So I need to accumulate them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll call this an accumulator. That might be a terrible name. Sorry about that.
Computer architecture students probably love it.
So this is the accumulator over 5, but this is the wrong syntax. Here I have the list. How do I accumulate it? I need to do for I in there. There's a better Lambda way to do this.
You can Lambda, yeah. You can do just a one-liner.
I don't have a sum literal, do I?
You might. I mean, I'm honestly not sure the built-ins there. There you go. You got something. Oh, it wants you to round, I think.
If I round it, I'm still
still not right.
Yeah. I'm not sure if this sum thing.
Yeah. Start throwing some prints.
All right, I'll do it the long way. So for
default dict, we'd be done.
Yeah.
We'd be done. You just add 1/5 each time.
This is true.
Nice long one-liner Lambda to sort the dictionary. Yeah, do it the boring way. It's if it works, it works. You can always make it better later. You're gonna need.
Still wrong. Let's see what's wrong here. Let's print my ordered keys.
Yeah.
So here's my standard out, and it says 1, 2. Those are the ordered keys I expect.
Mm-hmm.
So what am I doing wrong here?
I wish I had a computer to look at this. Let's see.
I got 91, 92. Oh, am I crossing my keys? I got 91, 92, 60. Let me write down this test case. So I have 91, 92, 60. 65, 87. Oh, 65, 87. Do I have more than 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 answers.
There you go.
Return the answer as an array, the top 5 average.
Oh, what is it, like average of top 5 only?
Yeah. And that's just a straight up problem and reading the problem. That's on me. So I was reading that there would be 5 per, but it's a minimum 5 per. Okay, so I need to sort those values. That's fine.
That's fine. If you just add a count now and divide by the count instead of 5.
Yeah. So
I don't know if they care about edge cases, less than 5 and all that.
And I don't really care, right? I don't care because I'm in log in on the what would it be? Maximum scores per student, which is Is that going to move with items? Maybe it will. I don't know. I have to think through that complexity analysis. But anyway, so here's my scores per student. I grab the key, and I have to sort this. So I'll call this sorted per scores. And then I want to grab 5. Let's see. That would be 0:5. Is it 5 or is it 4?
Like to get 5, it would just be 4.
I think so. We can print it to confirm.
Or sorry, it would be 5. We're in Python.
We can print it to confirm.
Inclusive,
None.
exclusive.
Call this foo. And I'm thinking this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 5.
Yeah,
Okay,
there you
cool.
go. Your Python auto sorts in increasing order also.
Yeah.
You're going to need a reverse equals true, I think.
Or dot reverse. Yeah, I can't do a -1, right? Yeah.
It's not that cool. I don't think you can do that. This is reverse equals true in the sort.
I think we can do this.
Can you do that? Oh, there you go.
Unless I'm tripping.
No, you might be able
So
to.
here,
I don't use the dot reverse.
I mean, reverse equals true would be more concise if it works, but this is what's in my head.
Oh, we're way way beyond the concise.
Yeah,
Sounds
yeah.
good.
So this works. Let's do reverse equals true. I like that. Reverse equals true. That's going to be faster if it's good. And it still works. Nice. Thanks for the tip.
I don't trust it. You're the software engineer. That might not be efficient.
Okay, so I have my accumulator now. My accumulator is going to be the sum of these guys. So I'll call this top 5 instead of foo. Top 5. Mm-hmm. Oh, and look at that. It's called high 5. How idiomatic.
Look at that. It's like you knew. Can't calculate that, though. You're going to need a calc. There's no way to calculate that average.
Okay, so here I have my accumulator, and then I'll divide by 5. Let's go accumulator over 5. So here I got 1, and it's just because now I need to floor it, yeah?
Yeah, looks like 4. Was that 88.6?
Yeah, that's okay. So in Python, I think I just double the division.
Well, integer division.
We made it.
Look at that. 75 minutes later.
I do gotta say, it feels like Ballmer might have slowed me down there. That or I'm stupid. I don't know. I guess we need more samples to figure out. Maybe I'm just stupid.
No, you're not stupid. We could definitely trim a lot of that. A lot of that fat there. Make it more Pythonic.
Well, thank you for your time. And chat, thank you for being here. Throw some likes on the video, follow the page. Let's see, Latterly.io, the educational open source platform to help you land your first or next software engineering role. This is not super oriented around Python, but it is open source. So pull request and help us build out the Python curriculum. That would be great. And yeah, we're right around 250 users. So help us break through that record. Anything else, Matt? You got a YouTube channel or a LinkedIn where you want to send people to?
Nah, I mean, you can find me on LinkedIn, but you don't have to, and I don't have a YouTube or a TikTok or any of that shit. So,
do you have a coding joke or a tech joke? I know you have a little bit of coding.
Our space is fucking terrible. It's brutal. It's boring. Add some light into your lives if you work in the tech space. Please go ahead and talk to people, speak to humans. Managers, if you can't speak to other people, remove yourself from that position. I could be on here for another hour, but if you can't speak to people, don't manage people. Step aside, let the other people manage people. All right, that's all I gotta say.
I dig it, man. I didn't know we were gonna have a jalapeno infused beer.
Well,
so here's
Uruguay.
Beer number
Uruguay
4
plays in 1 minute. We're gonna beat Brazil. It's going to be great. Hopefully everybody's watching Copa America.
Ouch. No, I'm going out to dinner, so I won't be.
Yeah, well, you're in the Midwest. It's different there. There's no
Where you at?
New York.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, there's no
All right.
soccer in the Midwest.
Here's the last beer. Let's get this and see. This is the grand reveal, the Imperial Milk Stout.
Milk stout. Oh. What are you going to have for dinner there? Milk steak in the Midwest? It's probably half the diet there. I'm a vegetarian, so it's we're in conflicting areas right now. Oh. All right, Tommy, say goodbye to everybody. Enjoy, chat. Have a great night. We're gonna have some summer rolls over here.
See ya.
See ya.
This is again Gugman House. It smells like coffee. Yeah, I'm doing this last beer and then we'll wrap up. So this is the Barrel Series. ABV is 13.2%. That's awesome. That's awesome. That's way better than the porter. Tastes a little bit like raisins. So you definitely get the stout flavor. It's creamy. You get caramel, coffee, chocolate, all of that. And raisins. And it's thick. Syrupy. Okay. I like this a lot. 8.5. Let's go 8.25. All right. Thanks for being here, chat. And that is the shout out to Gugman House once again. Local brewer in the Midwest. Thank you for being here. See you later.